following the IAEA's recent report essentially backing Japan's planned release of Fukushima wastewater. South Korea says it respects the report but is conducting its independent review of the content. Japan, in the meantime, will be closely monitoring opposition at home and abroad before finalizing the release date of the Fukushima wastewater. Overnight, torrential rain swept through South Korea's capital region, causing power outages and flooding. More rain in the forecast today for other parts of the nation. Good afternoon. Following the latest IAEA report essentially backing Japan's planned release of Fukushima wastewater, the South Korean government says the report should be respected, but it still remains cautious, saying it is conducting its own review of the report. For more, we have our political correspondent Lee Si-woo on the line. She will tell us more about the government's reaction.
Jung-eun, the government has been holding daily briefings on the issue since mid-June, and today was no exception, especially considering the release of the IAEA report the day before. South Korea's Office for Government Policy Coordination this morning said that it respects the IAEA's report, but as for its content, as you said, South Korea is conducting an independent review. Park Gu-yeon, the first deputy chief of office, said that the government is in the final stage of its review and will provide a deep analysis once the scientific and technological report is drafted by our own government. He went on to further explain that there are misunderstandings among the public regarding the performance of the advanced liquid processing system that is unable to filter the radioactive carbon-14 isotope in the discharge. While Park said it's true that the ALPS cannot entirely treat the radioactive isotope, the amount of the isotope in the water will be minimal and meets safety standards, and therefore there is no need for concern. At the briefing, the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries also reconfirmed that seafood from the Fukushima region is not being imported and that all of the Japanese seafood imports tested passed the radioactivity check. The ministry also emphasized that additional radioactivity assessments showed all 47 selected domestic seafood products tested in the production stage were safe to consume. Also, 18 more products in their distribution stage were assessed to be safe.
Right, now the report has prompted fierce clash between the rival parties in the National Assembly, with each holding emergency meetings to discuss the issue this morning. What did the parties have to say?
That's right, Jung-eun. The PPP's floor leader Yoon Jae-ok emphasized that experts in the field worked for 2 years to finalize the report, hinting at the credibility of the report. But Yoon also said that further close monitoring is needed to ensure people's safety. The day before, on Tuesday, the PPP senior spokesperson Kang Min-guk said that, quote, a calm response based on sharp analysis is needed when reacting to a future release of wastewater. The DP leader Lee Jae-myung urged that we should, in order to protect people and the fishing industry, ask questions, argue, and take responsibility for the issue. He also said that the National Assembly will seek cooperation from other nearby countries to ensure safety. The DP floor leader Park Kwang-won vowed that Parliament, along with other opposition parties, such as the Justice Party, will cooperate with experts. The DP will further push for related hearings, and that's all I have for now, but I'll be back with more updates in a later newscast.
Thank you, Shiu, for their reporting. The latest report by the IAEA was personally handed over by the agency's chief, who said Japan's planned release of Fukushima wastewater meets international safety standards. He is likely to share that sense with South Korean authorities when he visits the country later this week. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has the details.
The UN nuclear agency, the IAEA, has released its final report on the safety of the discharge of Fukushima wastewater and gives Japan the green light to release the water into the Pacific Ocean. The comprehensive report said following a 2-year review, the IAEA finds Japan's plans to be consistent with the international safety standards. The agency's chief, Rafael Grassi, who arrived in Japan on Tuesday morning, handed over a thick blue folder containing the report to the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida.
The plan, as it has been proposed and devised, is in conformity with the agreed international standards.
In a meeting with the IAEA chief, the Japanese leader stressed that he will not allow a discharge that would have a harmful impact on human health and the environment of Japan and other countries.
Japan will continue to provide explanations to the Japanese people and the international community in a sincere manner based on scientific evidence and with a high level of transparency.
IAEA's approval was something that was widely expected, as the agency has already been saying that samples of the wastewater from the Fukushima plant meet requirements. In its previous 6 reports, the agency said it found the measurement to be, quote, accurate and precise. During Grossi's 4-day visit to Japan, which ends Friday, he will also travel to the Fukushima Daiichi plant to inspect the site and visit an IAEA office there, which will newly open upon his visit. Grossi will then visit South Korea from Friday to Sunday to provide a detailed explanation of the report to the Korean government. He will sit down for talks with the country's foreign minister, Park Jin, and the chairperson of the Nuclear Safety and Security Commission, Yoo Guk-hee. But regardless of the IAEA's assessment confirming the safety of the water, South Korea will likely continue to ban imports of seafood from Fukushima. The Japanese government earlier said it plans to start releasing the wastewater into the ocean sometime this summer. Now that it has received the IAEA report, it will soon announce the exact schedule for the release, a process that will be carried out over the next 3 to 4 decades. 배은지, Arirang News.
Japan, in the meantime, will be closely monitoring opposition at home and abroad before finalizing the release date of the Fukushima wastewater. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
As of now, the only remaining step for Japan's plan to release contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant is Prime Minister Kishida's decision to initiate the discharge. On Tuesday, the International Atomic Energy Agency concluded that Japan's plan to discharge contaminated water is in line with international standards. However, there are still concerns not only from neighboring countries but also from within Japan. Within Japan, local fishermen and politicians have raised concerns. On July 4th, Japanese broadcaster NHK reported that the Miyagi Prefecture Local Assembly unanimously adopted a statement opposing the discharge. Local fishermen also continue to oppose the plan. Following the IAEA's report released on July 4th, China held a special press conference. During the conference, China stated that the IAEA's report does not guarantee the legitimacy and legality of the discharge. China said that the IAEA is an organization that promotes the peaceful use of nuclear energy and is not suitable for assessing contaminated water. On the other hand, the United States supported the discharge decision, citing the scientific basis of the IAEA's report. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of State said the report stated that it reflects the international consensus from all member countries. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Vice ministerial level talks took place in Beijing between South Korea and China following recent diplomatic frictions. According to Seoul's Foreign Ministry, Deputy Foreign Minister Choi Young-sam on Tuesday held a meeting and lunch with Vice Foreign Minister Sun Wei-dong at the Chinese Foreign Ministry. The two discussed ways to develop stable relations and stress better trade promotion, stable supply chain management, and efforts to expand person-to-person and cultural exchanges. The meeting was the first high-level talks between the two countries since comments made by China's ambassador to South Korea last month, which warned Seoul against making a wrong bet when it comes to the China-U.S. rivalry. Overnight, torrential rain swept through South Korea's capital region, causing multiple reports of power loss and flooding. More rain is in forecast today for other parts of the nation. Lee Sing-jae has the latest.
Heavy rain warnings issued in Seoul and the metropolitan regions have been lifted as of 2 a.m. Wednesday as the rain clouds moved east. While Seoul and its surrounding areas seem to have avoided the worst of this season's monsoon rains so far, other regions could still be affected. Heavy rain warnings have been issued in Daejeon, Cheongju, and northern regions of Gyeongsang-Buk-do Province. Other regions that were issued the same warnings include Jeollabuk-do Province, Heavy rainfall of 10 to 30 millimeters per hour can be expected in the affected regions. While no casualties have been reported overnight, the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters said Wednesday that there was some damage caused in the Seoul metropolitan region. This includes 7 homes and stores that were flooded due to the heavy overnight rain, with some trees also reportedly damaged. 423 households in Gyeonggi-do Province lost power late Tuesday night. Currently, access is restricted to 414 trails in 14 national parks, including Bukhansan, Wudungsan, and Jirisan. Heavy rain is expected in different parts of the country throughout Wednesday, with southern regions of the country expected to see 20 to 60 millimeters of rain. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, this year's monsoon season should be similar to previous years and is expected to last for a total of 32 days. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Price hikes of Korean instant noodles hit record highs in June despite slowing inflation. According to Statistics Korea on Tuesday, Ramyeon prices jumped 13.4% in June compared to the same month last year, despite inflation slowing to 2.7%. This is the largest jump in prices since the financial crisis in 2009 and follows an annual price hike of 13.1% the previous month. With grain prices falling, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho, in a televised address last month, urged ramen companies to lower their prices. South Korea's economy is projected to expand 1.4% this year, a slight cut from the previous forecast, while inflation is expected to further ease. This as the Finance Ministry unveiled its economic policy direction for the second half of the year with a focus on achieving economic vitality. Our economic correspondent Shin Ha-young has the details.
As price hikes in South Korea continue to ease, the government has slashed its inflation outlook for the year from 3.5% to 3.3%. However, it has also lowered its growth projection for 2023 to 1.4% due to a sluggish performance in the first half. Despite this cut in its economic forecast, the government expects the economy to gradually recover in the second half of the year and more substantially starting next year. Mentioning this, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho announced on Tuesday the economic policy direction for the latter half aimed at improving the country's economic vitality.
The country's economic conditions have been gradually improving, but economic uncertainties still remain in the global economy and financial markets. In the second half of the year, the government will focus on enhancing economic vitality, stabilizing people's livelihoods, improving the economic structure, and future preparation.
First, the government will focus on boosting sluggish exports, as these will play a significant role in the country's overall economic rebound. It'll do so by injecting record-breaking trade financing of 184 trillion Korean won, or roughly $140 billion during the second half. The government also aims to stimulate domestic consumption by boosting tourism. To encourage off-season travel, 300,000 vouchers worth $23 each for accommodation will be distributed in November. To attract more foreign tourists, 700 free round-trip flight tickets will be given out in July and August, targeting visitors from countries such as Japan, Taiwan, and China. As for improving the country's economic structure, it will focus on fostering science and technology as well as cutting-edge industries and expand joint research at the global level. The government aims to promote this and nurture key personnel by partnering local research institutions with ones in the U.S. Additionally, it is planning to expand its R&D and technological cooperation with the EU by having further talks on Seoul joining the EU's Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Program. South Korea could also soon expand tax benefits for video content makers to the same level as those for chip makers. Currently, the tax credit for conglomerates making video content is 3%, while for small and mid-sized businesses, it stands at 10%. The revised tax credit for video content makers is yet to be announced, but tax benefits for chip makers have been raised to a maximum of 25%. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
South Korean companies operating in China saw sales drop over the last 6 years since Beijing's ban on South Korean cultural content. Figures released by Business Tracker CEO Score shows that the total combined sales of 113 major South Korean companies doing business in China came to around $85 billion in 2022. That is a drop of 13.1% from 2016. Excluding chip and battery businesses, which are seeing dramatic growth in the Chinese market, sales dropped almost 40%. Auto giant Hyundai Motor's Chinese operation saw the biggest drop, with sales down 75%. South Korea's foreign reserves, a barometer of financial stability, increased in June amid a weakening U.S. dollar. Data from the Bank of Korea on Wednesday shows that the nation's foreign exchange reserves stood at $421.5 billion at the end of June. That is up $470 million from the previous month. The rise was largely driven by the U.S. dollar index falling 0.8% against major currencies, boosting the converted value of non-dollar assets. As of the end of May, the country's foreign reserves were the 9th largest in the world. Aspartame is a common sweetener used in popular soft drinks as well as in other products like chewing gum. While the World Health Organization's Cancer Agency is likely to give a warning over its use, South Korean authorities say the country's average consumption is below levels of concern, but will independently review and release guidelines. Jin has the details.
The International Agency for Research on Cancer is the World Health Organization's cancer research arm, and the global health body is preparing to declare aspartame as being possibly carcinogenic to humans. Another WHO expert committee, the joint FAO-WHO Expert Committee on Food Additives, is set to update its risk assessment exercise on aspartame, including the reviewing of the acceptable daily intake and dietary exposure assessment, which will be made available on July 14th. The evaluations from the two bodies are complementary. The IARC will assess the potential carcinogenic effect of aspartame, while the JECFA will update its risk assessment, including a review of the acceptable daily intake. The artificial sweetener that's known to be about 200 times sweeter than sugar, aspartame was first approved by the U.S. FDA back in 1974. An evaluation by the JECFA in 1981 determined its acceptable daily intake to be under 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. The IARC has, up to now, never evaluated aspartame. However, the current review may yield results of potential carcinogenic effects. And depending on the findings, consumers, food companies, retailers, and restaurants may need to decide whether to fight back or find alternatives. Meanwhile, the South Korean Ministry of Food and Drug Safety said it would release and analyze the effects of aspartame, saying that IARC rulings do not always have an absolute impact on domestic standards. According to a 2019 report from the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, the average per-person consumption level of aspartame in South Korea is 0.12% of the acceptable daily intake. But health experts and authorities will wait for the final report by the global organization set to be released on July 14th before taking the next step. Jin, Arirang News.
A special exhibition to introduce South Korea's Jeju Island is being held this week in Vietnam's Ha Long Bay. According to Jeju World Heritage Headquarters, the exhibition will run until this Friday. There, visitors can enjoy various programs, including Jeju's media art content on a 14-meter-long screen, as well as having a virtual experience of flying over the island in an urban air vehicle. An exhibition official says an average of 4,000 people are expected to visit each day. Jeju Island is recognized by UNESCO as a World Natural Heritage Site.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that the Russian people are united as never before and that the country is developing steadily. He made the remarks on Tuesday during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. Attending the summit virtually, Putin addressed other leaders from China, India, Pakistan, Iran, and 4 Central Asian countries. He said Russia would resist pressures imposed on it by what he called illegitimate sanctions and the hybrid war in Ukraine. It marked his first international appearance since an armed mutiny by the Wagner mercenary group threatened Moscow only 10 days earlier. The mutiny ended after Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin made a deal with the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. Prigozhin has since made his first remarks after arriving in Belarus last week. He uploaded a 41-second voice message on Telegram on Monday local time, where he thanked supporters of the failed uprising. He added that the so-called March for Justice was mainly aimed at fighting traitors and mobilizing our society. In the United States, just ahead of the 4th of July celebrations on Tuesday, a series of mass shootings have left at least 10 people dead. On late Monday evening, 3 people were killed and 8 wounded after a local festival in Fort Worth, Texas. Just a few hours earlier, 5 people were killed and 2 were injured in Philadelphia, where a gunman wearing a bulletproof vest opened fire on strangers. That came a day after 2 people were shot dead and 28 were injured at a street party in Baltimore. Motives for all 3 shootings are still unclear. U.S. President Joe Biden has condemned the shootings and called for tighter gun laws. So far this year, the U.S. has seen over 340 incidents of mass shootings and gun violence. Also in the U.S., a 4th of July hot dog eating contest champion Joey Chestnut has kept his title. The 39-year-old successfully beat back his challengers on Tuesday at New York City's Coney Island, making it his 16th career win. Chestnut ate 62 hot dogs in just 10 minutes. He was way ahead of a runner-up Jeff Esper, who managed just 49 hot dogs. Despite the win, Chestnut failed to beating his world record 76 hot dogs set in 2021. The day also saw Miki Sudo win the women's version of the competition for the 9th time. She ate 39.5 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. There were heavy showers across Korea overnight with rain advisories, and some parts of Jeju and Gyeongsang-Namdo province had to deal with lingering showers through this morning. Well, after some wild conditions, we can expect sunnier and calmer weather this afternoon. Highs in southern provinces are going up 3 to 5 degrees higher than yesterday, hovering above 30 degrees Celsius. Sunshine will be quite strong, though, with very high UV rays beaming down nationwide. So you can put away your umbrellas, but now sun safety is a must this afternoon. Top temperatures in Seoul are similar to yesterday, topping out at about 29 degrees Celsius. And of course, it's hotter in the south with some strong winds expected all day today. Monsoon rain takes a break for a couple of days, then returns at the end of the week to southern parts of the country, while temperatures remain on the hotter side, but for now, the figures are not looking too bad. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day.